Hey guys, giving out more fishing tips, and today I'm going over my 4 baits and techniques for year-round fishing success. 4 baits that you can catch bass on 12 months out of the year and have a really good chance at catching a lot of bass. You know, technically speaking, you can tie on whatever and have at least a chance at catching a bass. You can tie on a hollow body frog in December, and if the stars align, you might catch one. But these are 4 baits and rigs that give you a really good chance of catching bass, and that no matter what the season, what the water temperature, water conditions, these are going to be really high percentage baits that just always get bit. So starting with number 1 is going to be the flipping jig. And the reason the flipping jig is on this list is because it is the best bass lure for fishing wood and hard structure. Laydowns, docks, brush piles, branchy stuff, that hard structure, the flipping jig is just the best lure to fish that stuff. And why that's so important for year-round success is that no matter what the water temperature or what the season, bass are always going to be holding to wood. Whether it's the middle of the summer and the sun's beating down and they want to tuck up under wood for shade, or it's the middle of the winter and all the grass and vegetation has died and they have no other cover to go to, the bass will still tuck up under wood. And every season in between, the bass just love holding to wood. And when it comes to fishing that stuff, putting your baits in and pulling bass out, the flipping jig is just by far the best lure for the job. So it's not just a bait that you can have tied on and catch bass all year round. It's a bait that you really should and need to have tied on all year round, and you'll catch lots and lots of bass. The next lure is going to be the Lipless Crankbait. This is going to be kind of your fast reaction style bait out of this list, and you kind of always want some sort of reaction style bait so that you can cover a lot of water and really pinpoint those aggressive bass. And I think the Lipless Crankbait is the best year-round bait for this because I think it's the most versatile. You can fish it in really shallow water, the middle of the column, all the way down to deep water. You can cast it up into 1 or 2 feet of water. As long as you hold your rod tip up and reel it a bit faster, you're not going to get caught up in anything. You can fish it really shallow, drop your rod tip, get a little bit deeper, let the bait sink, let it get really deep. So you can fish it in all water columns, and then you can adjust your retrieve depending on the season or the mood of the bass. You can burn it really fast in the summertime, ripping it through grass and whatnot to get those really aggressive reaction strikes. Then in the winter season, when the water is really cold, a yo-yo technique, ripping it up and down off the bottom, is really popular and really effective because it does a phenomenal job of imitating those dying shad, dying bluegill that just can't quite survive the winter. And during that cold winter season, that's one of the bass's favorite forage. Those dying bait fish, they're just super easy meals. The bass don't have to chase after them or anything. And the Lipless Crankbait, yo-yoed up and down off the bottom, does a tremendous job at imitating that. So really, whatever season it is, whether you're fishing it fast or slow, high or deep, this thing gets bit, and it's one of the most efficient and best reaction style baits for year-round success. The next bait is going to be the Finesse or Boottail Swimbait, and you can really think of this very similarly to the Lipless Crankbait in that you can fish it shallow, middle, or deep. You can fish it everywhere, cover a lot of water, be very efficient, and you can adjust your retrieve depending on the season, whether if it's fishing faster in the summertime or scooting it or hopping it off the bottom in the wintertime. It's very similar to Lipless Crankbait in the way you fish it and the places you're going to fish it. The difference is that it's much more natural, much more subtle and finesse. So if the bass are kind of picky or they're really pressured, maybe there's a lot of other guys throwing lures and fishing your lakes, and the bass just get kind of turned off lures, or maybe it's really ultra clear water and they don't want a loud, aggressive bait like the Lipless. That's when the Finesse Swimbait comes in. You can still fish it very efficiently, cover tons of water, imitating the bait fish, the bass's favorite forage. But it's a little bit more finesse, so it's going to always be able to produce bites even when the bass are a little bit finicky. So if the bite has gotten tough, but you still need to cover some water all year round, that's when you go to the Finesse Swimbait. And then lastly, number 4 is going to be the drop shot rig. I think the drop shot rig is the best year-round finesse rig, and the reason is, there's really 2 reasons why. The first one is that it always keeps your bait up above the bottom. The actual worm is always suspended up off the bottom a bit. So if you have like algae and snot grass in the summertime that coats the bottom, it keeps your bait clean. It can still get bit. Or sometimes during the fall, a lot of leaves and pine needles fall and they coat the bottom of a lake or pond, and it just makes it really hard to fish other finesse rigs like a shaky head or a Ned rig. They can get coated in that nasty stuff and just ruin the action and appeal to the bass, whereas the drop shot can always stay up above that stuff and stay clean and stay enticing. And the second reason is that the drop shot is really the best deep water finesse rig, because no matter how heavy you go on that weight to get it down in the deeper water, it never messes up the action of your worm because the worm is not actually attached to the weight. So even if you're using a really heavy weight to get it down however deep you need to, maybe it's the middle of the winter and the bass are out in the really deep, a little bit warmer water, or the middle of the summer and a lot of the bass have gone out deep to stay cold or stay cool, The drop shot worm stays up above that weight, so even if you're fishing in deeper water with a heavier weight, the action is not messed up by a big bulky weight, and it can still look really good and draw a lot of bites. So when it comes to catching bass all year round, if I only had to pick 4 lures, without a doubt, they would be the flipping jig, the lipless crankbait, the finesse swimbait, and the drop shot. Alright guys, that's pretty much it. Thanks for watching, and feel free to subscribe if you want.